Hallo zusammen, I'm your vlog Dave, and of course there are many more German artists and bands that are, well, interesting and worth to be checked out besides Rammstein and Umf. And today we're gonna actually learn about one of them. And we're gonna remain in the same genre more or less, in the same metal subgenre, NDH, NDH, Neue Deutsche Härte, New German Heaviness so to speak, because we're gonna talk about a song by Eisbrecher. Was ist hier los? What is it about, and why do I think personally it's a really cool song and also quite accessible for learners of the German language? Yeah, so let's talk about it. To give you a short introduction to the band, Eisbrecher, Icebreaker, were founded in 2003 as a new project of singer Alexander Weselski, who had left the German NDH metal band Megaherz, Megaheart before. And even though Megaherz still exists to this day without Alex, as fans usually call him, Eisbrecher can be seen as sort of a derivative with a pretty similar style that's rooted in heavy metal with German lyrics. This particular song was released as a single off of their 2017 studio album Sturmfahrt, Storm or Stormy Ride. Was ist hier los also was one of the songs I saw them play live at the Mera Luna Festival in 2018. Really impressive and fun live show. To me, singer Alex has a slightly similar tonal quality to Dero, singer in Umf, which I really like because both share a rich, deep voice. Next to being the vocalist, he also writes the lyrics and is the frontman in Eisbrecher. While being written very meaningful and also with a poetic quality to them, many of Weselski's lyrics are written in a pretty direct, approachable stylistic way. Also, the English translation of these lyrics was done by me, it's not an official one. I purposely translate these lines quite literal in order to transfer certain linguistic relations from German to English, so you can see certain details and relations a bit better out of learning purposes basically. Since I'm personally also still pretty new to the band, I know a little bit about them, I don't really know too many songs by them yet, I thought, you know what? Let's actually check out this song for myself and also with you guys together, so we can learn something along the way, both of us so to speak. So let's find out what Was ist hier los might be about. Alright, so let's take a look at the first part of the first verse, since it's a quite long one, even though the lines themselves are pretty short. Wir bauen auf und reißen ein. Wir fangen an und lassen's sein. Wir wollen viel. Wir können nichts. Erst kommt die Wahrheit, dann kommt die Pflicht. My English translation also features the same stylistic details as in the original. In specific, it's always two consecutive lines directly corresponding with each other. They express correlating actions, mostly beginnings and endings of processes and contrasts. We start doing this and we also end it. This is also indicated by the use of wir, we, and. Because of the German linguistic aspect of separating conjugated verbs, the separated verbal prefixes, prepositions like an or ein, also correlate at the end of these respective lines. Bauen, auf, from aufbauen, and reißen, ein, from einreißen. Another good example of der Gegensatz, singular, die Gegensätze, plural, the opposite or contrast, would be the endings of lines 5 and 6. Viel, nichts, much, nothing. All these details are a first testament to the song's overall meaning, I'd say. The title Was ist hier los translates to what is going on here, basically a question you'd ask others. To me, it's a song about doing things only partially, half-heartedly, out of a temporal intuition, as opposed to doing things because you really reflected about pros and cons beforehand. Actually, it showcases the victory of rather spontaneous intuitions and tactics, which often lead to more problems than they solve, over long thought out strategies, which, at least that seems to be a subtle assumption made by the lyrical eye here, usually are the more reasonable option. We have a German adjective, respectively a German adverb, that also refers to this behavior, which is halbherzig, half-heartedly. The second part, or the second chorus, goes like this. Erst geht nichts los, dann fängt nichts an. Und wenn nicht heut, dann irgendwann. Mal geht nichts rein, dann kommt nichts raus. Nur heiße Luft in diesem ehrenwerten Haus. The aforementioned semantic connection between two respective lines continues in the second part of the verse, but this time it's indicated by different words correlating to the temporal adverb dann, then, erst, dann, first, then, und, dann, and then. Lines 3 and 4 refer to someone acting without motivation and drive. It doesn't matter to them if they do something today or tomorrow, they don't really care. Again, this refers back to doing something only half-heartedly, maybe because they are forced to do it, who knows, basically to make decisions. Or maybe they are forced to make decisions way too early. When you watch the official music video to the song, which is linked in the video description by the way, you can get a good impression on how the lyrical eye not exclusively, but also relates to modern politics and the process of making political decisions, including really enforcing each law that exists. This also implies that das ehrenwerte Haus, the honorable house, which gets mentioned at the end of verse 2, might refer to the federal German parliament, der Bundestag, which resides at der Reichstag, the parliament's building in Berlin. The parliament and the building are also known as das Hohe Haus, the high, meaning important or noble house. Line 7 features a common popular German expression, nur heiße Luft, only hot air, pretty much referring to making empty promises or just saying something without really meaning it. As a German, I'm also really interested in German terms that don't really get used that often anymore, and one of them gets featured in this song, which is ehrenwert, honorable. You won't really hear or come across that term very often anymore, apart from a few contexts, for instance like this one, in diesem ehrenwerten Haus, in this honorable house. Now to the chorus. Was ist hier los? Was? Was ist passiert? Was? Wie kann es sein, dass das hier keinen interessiert? Was ist hier los? Was? Was ist passiert? Was? Soll das so sein, dass hier rein gar nichts funktioniert? In combination with the music video, which addresses many examples of contrast and really wrong things happening here in this world, for instance poverty in the third world while we enjoy eating all our burgers, or the unanswered question of how to safely get rid of nuclear waste without polluting, well, pretty much a whole country, and, well, the pollution of seas and animals with oil and the like, etc., etc., the lyrics really seem to question the status of political decision-making. Alex, portraying a news anchor here, also subtly mimics Angela Merkel's famous gesture, so that's another indicator for a pretty modern context of the otherwise, sadly, pretty timeless lyrics. Here, the lyrical eye shifts from only describing and explaining the situation in the verses to questioning all the actions taken or not taken, which also gives the song more depth. The next lines are especially fascinating since they are a mixture, a marriage of a verse and a chorus. Was ist hier los? Was ist passiert? Der Magen denkt, das Herz pariert. Was ist hier los? Ist das normal? Erst kommt das Fressen. Und dann kommt die Moral. Especially lines 3 and 4 are very fascinating to me, not only because of the dualism, stomach equals intuition, heart equals emotions for instance, and making decisions because of the two factors, but also because the conjugated verb pariert in the third person singular, Präsens, simple present, indicative mode active of parieren, can be translated to both obey, meaning to follow orders or agree with something, and counter, to disagree, basically defying to do something, and both perspectives can apply to the mentioned context, I think. Out of misguided emotions and thus the lack of reasoning and reflection, you can either follow bad intuitions or you have an inner conflict. Your intuition says it's okay to do that, but your heart tells you it's not. The last two lines refer to a well-known German saying: Erst kommt das Fressen, dann kommt die Moral. First comes the feeding or gorging, and then comes the moral, as a singular noun by the way. Which again refers back to what I mentioned before, doing something without really having thought about and reflected on it beforehand. The bridge goes like this: Wer nichts gewinnt und doch verliert, hat viel gelernt und nichts kapiert. Es fängt nie an. Es endet nie. Ja, was ist hier los? These lines all seem to be about not learning from your past decisions and mistakes, even though there are plenty of chances and examples to improve one's decision process. Also, lines 5 and 6 could imply that it's never a bad timing to reflect on things, it's always mandatory, also while a process is still being pursued and made, meaning in the process. When a law gets passed in parliament and then it gets enforced, of course it's important to really look if it's doing what it's supposed to do, or if you have to adjust something. Because if you don't, everything goes to waste and you can't avoid massive damage, mostly to society as a whole. I think in some way or another you can sum up the song and especially the lyrics under the German term gesellschaftskritisch, critical of society, because that it pretty much is the content, the whole meaning behind the song, I think. And not only because, you know, it's easy to blame others for actions they have done, but it's also very, very easy to not blame yourself and to not change something yourself, right? So that goes hand in hand, I personally think, and I think that also makes this song pretty, well, not only modern, but then again also timeless. And of course, I'd like to know what is your favorite Eisbrecher song and your favorite Eisbrecher album. Feel free to tell me in the comments, and also make sure to check out my social media links in the video description down below and all the other linked videos right here, because you might enjoy them as well if you liked this video, for instance. And of course, well, thanks very much for watching and for your continued support. Greatly appreciated, and feel free to share this video with others that you might know on social media, on and offline, that might be interested in learning some German and, well, finding out about German music. Thanks for doing that in advance as well, and thanks for watching once again. I'm your Vlog Dave. Tschüss und bis zum nächsten Mal.